Hey there, First Coast News streaming family. Zach Wilcox here. Josh Hodges, the photographer. Figured we'd give you guys a look at Atlantic Beach right now, and we're going to kind of work toward Beach's Town Center to start. We are just past high tide at this point, probably half an hour past high tide. As we get ready for our 11 o'clock show, we're only going to be in that for about a minute. So figured we'd give you a longer walk and talk here, if you will, if you're interested in watching us, as we give you a look around. Pretty dry right now, and really not even that windy here at the beach. It's been a windy day all day at the beach. We were up in Moncrief earlier today, and it wasn't as bad there with the wind or the rain, but boy, once we got down to the water, it really started to pick up. Lost our hats a couple of times, but all's well now, and really kind of a quiet night here in Atlantic Beach. It was actually really pretty earlier. Obviously not going to be able to show you the stars or anything, but all the clouds cleared out of the sky for about a half an hour there, and we could get a look at the stars and the moon really shining on that really high water. So we'll work our way back toward the water if you're going to hang with us for a long duration here, but we're going to start off in Town Center, where it's starting to quiet down. Obviously it's a Thursday and it's 10 o'clock now, but taking a look over there at the fish camp, it was packed earlier. Josh and I were noting it. It was like not a seat available in there. And in fact, when we first pulled into downtown, or to the town center here, we couldn't really find a whole lot of parking, which was surprising considering, we had Nicole going on, but we really only found like one parking space when we initially pulled up. And so you're taking a look here at Town Center, where not a lot of water, a couple of puddles here and there, but fortunately it doesn't look like a whole lot pushed over even at high tide earlier today, the bad one, if you will. So now that we took a look there, we'll take a walk down toward the beach again. And what we've noticed as we've gone around, we were up in 18th Street earlier until it got dark out and it was difficult to see. So that's why we came down to Town Center, where there's a little bit more light to work with. But earlier on 18th Street, we talked to some folks who live up there near the public beach access, and they mentioned that they feel like they've lost a good 10 to 15 feet worth of dunes. And we heard actually down in St. Augustine, some of our teams down there mentioned that we're talking about 30 feet of dunes, so obviously not to the extent here, but still worrying for a lot of the folks, living up that way, and living up here in Atlantic Beach, to lose like that significant of a chunk. I mean, the water really came up pretty high. We were looking at a private walkover that the sand came all the way up into it, and the water had pretty much reached the top step right before it cleared the dunes. So doesn't look as bad here a little further south, down in the town center area in Atlantic Beach. And I appreciate Josh walking with me here. I know we're kind of roaming around a little bit, and appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully this is helpful in case you're kind of wondering what it looks like out and around right now. So this is where we're parked right now, and we're kind of illuminating the path out to the beach. And part of the reason why we came down here was A, because it was better lighting than most places at night here along the beach, and then B, because I was thinking about this particular beach access, because this is kind of the main one in Town Center, and you'll see, kind of like where our car is, you'll see first responder vehicles or ocean rescue. They like to use this as sort of their access point as well to get out to the beach. So usually anytime I've come up this way, I've seen one or two of those kind of trucks working their way out as people walk out to the beach. So I was thinking about that because of just how wide this beach access is. And I was wondering with how low the dunes are here, because they have to obviously have that kind of hole in the dunes usually. And so you can see there that they've built up a wall. They've actually used the bulldozer to kind of push sand up that way past the lifeguard shack, so that those dunes, it's almost like it's kind of weird to see dunes without the sea oats and everything on them, but sort of just a temporary solution here. Obviously not a lot of people walking out to the beach, so more important to have that to block the water from coming all the way up here. And you can see that it's generally worked. This looks like where they pulled a lot of the sand from. We've got some kind of water pooling right here, but nothing too crazy. And that means the water came over a little bit over those little shoulders on that wall there, but didn't go too far. I mean, you saw how far we walked up that way and kept the water out of there. So let's just while I have you, let's take a walk over as well, and we'll walk over, since it's kind of made these little divots in the side. Hopefully we can kind of clear those and not disturb this dune too much. We've seen a few folks walk over to the beach just to get a look here, since this is the public beach access point, and that way you're not disturbing the dunes themselves, which are massive at this chunk of Atlantic Beach, of course, here along Town Center. So we'll go up the left side, Josh. Yeah, that works. So we popped over here earlier. Again, it's been about a half an hour since the peak of high tide, so won't be quite as high as it was. So we're clearing here, watching our step as we come on down. And so here we are. We'll take a look at the beach. I know it's dark, so bear with us. We tried to light up the front side of that temporary dune for you, but you can kind of see here along the dunes where that water came up and almost made like an alcove and kind of cut in there. You can see it's still a little wet in there, a little dark, where the dunes are kind of hanging over like cliffs. So, and you can see just how steep those are here. Josh, I'll stand next to them. I'm not very tall. I'm about 5.5 feet tall, but you can see, I mean, they're not usually that far up because they usually have a lot of extra dune space kind of slowly slanting down a little bit more, but that's how steep they are at the moment, and we're seeing images like that all throughout the First Coast. But just wanted to share that with you here at the main beach access in Atlantic Beach. But they did their job, right? I mean, we went through town center, and it looked great. Not a lot of water up there, a couple little puddles, but everybody could still go out to ragtime and go out to the fish camp and everything tonight, and it didn't seem to disrupt too much going on up there. We'll turn and show you the water, and it really didn't come up as high. You can see this is some freshly wet reeds right here. This is about as high as it came. Right, Josh? You were out here a little earlier. Yeah, he's nodding. So he was out here getting some video right when it was at the peak of high tide. So working its way back out now a little bit. Still pretty gnarly out there. It's been windy, and that inside break is really something to see those waves really form a face. But outside it is totally blown out for those far out break lines. And pretty big here as well, and just nothing but foam, just whitewash all the way out to sea, which is actually kind of easy to pick up right now because of how with the moon and then how whitewashed it is. It's kind of reflecting a little bit, so actually pretty well lit out here tonight. But generally a quiet night out on the beach, and it's gonna, it's dark, so it's tough to see exactly the extent of that erosion, but wanted to let you guys know that with this second high tide, obviously the worst one was earlier today when it did all of that, but this second high tide didn't come up anywhere near that. It maybe came 5-10 feet from kissing the dunes, and maybe in a few spots it reached a little further, but most of these reeds up here look like they are still pretty dry, and we were out here and it didn't really seem like it got quite that high, maybe 10-15 feet to spare, and you can see where they've made this temporary dune. It's even further back up that way. So so we're gonna work our way back over. Appreciate you guys hanging in there with me and watching for a bit, and we will be back on here. Let's see if we can kind of come up and over. All right, Josh, you got it. Kudos to Josh for being able to do that while also carrying the camera. So yeah, I mean, amazing work. I'm sure, just looking at this, I'm sure it was tedious to do and pound all that sand in there, since that's not normally there, but obviously did its job and kept the water pretty much at bay here in Atlantic Beach, and hopefully tomorrow we'll get a better idea of what exactly the erosion is like, and especially with Ian already having done a lot, and then the water coming up from some folks that we've heard even higher during this storm. So we'll see to the extent that it looks like when we have a little bit more light to work with, but just wanted to give you guys a look at what we've been seeing so far right now, and a look at the fantastic job of protecting town center's main beach access to keep that water from working its way toward the restaurants and all the businesses and parking. So for now though, guys, you can join us at 11. We'll have hits from all over the place. This is just Atlantic Beach, a little walk and talk to show you, but we are all up and down the First Coast and inland as well, giving you a look at the aftermath, or the current math a little bit here as Nicole continues working through the aftermath of the most significant bands of Nicole from this morning. So for now, in Atlantic Beach, Zach Wilcox, First Coast News on your side. Check us out at 11.